Hello, my name is Diane and this is the New Old Nurse. Welcome everyone. In today's video, we're going to discuss going back to school in middle age. I do think it has its own challenges that I think are worth discussing here. So if you're thinking of going back to nursing school and you're a little bit on the older side compared to most college students, this is where you're going to hear how it really is. When I went back to nursing school, I had not been in any type of school for almost 20 years. That is a long time. If folks watching this channel are only about 20 years old, just think that's your whole lifetime that I had not been in school. I can remember studying for the TEAS test, which for my program, that was the standardized test you had to take as part of your application. And I had to ask my high school age daughter how to multiply fractions. I hadn't done it in so long, I just really couldn't remember at all. It was just like a blank. Like, wait, fractions? Oh my God. I haven't even seen a fraction in I don't know how long. I did ask her for help. She was very helpful. Thank you, honey. So just the whole rhythm of being in school, studying, having to stay home when your family is doing something else so you can prepare for a test. That was something I really hadn't done in so long. Thankfully, taking my prerequisites gave me a little bit of practice at doing that again, especially taking anatomy with the volume of information that's required. That was a really good practice session on getting back into school. I can't though really articulate exactly how nervous I was for my first test in like 20 years. It was just nerve-wracking thinking, oh my gosh, another human being, adult, is gonna give me this paper and with just like all these questions that I have to know the answers to. That really doesn't happen in other parts of your life. It only happens in school. And it's just, I'm sure somebody now is gonna tell me examples where it happens when you're not in school. But honestly, it hadn't happened to me. So it was nerve-wracking. I was very stressed out. But so just that whole change of going back to school, plus technology is very different than the last time I was in school. Everybody in my classroom had a laptop in class that they're typing and taking their notes on. I am honestly not sure laptops were invented when I was in college. I'm sure they existed, but I did not have one. If they existed, they were too expensive for me. I did have a desktop that had a disk drive, okay, folks? So I showed up on my first day to class with a notebook. I did have an iPad with me. But I wasn't prepared to take notes on it. I took my notes by hand in a notebook, and that was unusual compared to the rest of my class. We had a lot of tests online. It was not every single test, but quite a few. We would show up to a computer lab and have to click through the answers. And I don't know if it's my age or the way that I learn or think, but I just love to be hunched over a piece of paper with a pen or a pencil and be able to scribble or put a line through something or just, I don't know. It is probably due to my age and how school used to be, but that is my learning and testing mode. My learning and testing mode is not sitting and looking at the monitor and clicking. That took some getting used to. Oh my gosh, and the worst part was hitting submit and your score was immediately there. Oh my God, that was nerve-wracking. I'm somebody who hands in my test and then wants to forget about it for at least a day till the teacher tells you your grade. Oh no, you did not get that luxury. Immediately you knew your score and you got up and walked out of that classroom either crying or happy. That was an interesting experience. One of the other challenges in going back to school for any program, let alone nursing, is simply your family obligations. Of course, you could have family obligations at any age, but when you're middle-aged, you have children most likely, you might have a partner, you have a house to take care of, you have real bills, your mortgage. A lot of the folks I was in the program with, and this may have just been the cohort that I was with, were living at home. They might have been 20 years old, 22 years old, but they were living at home and could go through school and have their parents worry about rent/mortgage. Yes, they still had to worry about money. I'm not taking away from any of the responsibilities they had, but I feel like in middle age, there's just a little bit more on your shoulders, a little bit more worry in that regard than a lot of my classmates had. So there was a little bit more of a tug of war between obligations, personal obligations, and my schoolwork than some other folks of a younger age had. And to add to that, most of my classmates were not like me in terms of their age. It was mostly women. I think we had one male in our whole class. I'm sure he really enjoyed that. And I got along with everybody. But in reality, I could have been the mom to almost everybody in that class. So it was a really unique experience to be challenged in the same way they were with the material, and yet think about it in an entirely different way because I'm at a totally different stage in life. So I would remember sometimes that, oh yeah, I'm not thinking the way they are because of my age. You know, I was really closer in age to my instructors. My instructors were probably within 10 years of my age. So I didn't think about my instructors the same way my classmates did. Like, I felt like, wow, I wish I could go out and have drinks with this lady so she could be my friend. Whereas they're like, oh my gosh, this old lady who's teaching us is so awkward or whatever. I didn't have those feelings. I was kind of like, you're so young and the teachers are cool. And, you know, it was just a totally different way of looking at things. So most of my peers were at a different stage of life. It made it interesting. It made it fun. They would kind of ask me about things and going on in their lives, advice. Do you think I should do this? Do you think I should do that? I felt kind of honored to have that role for them. The couple of students who were my same age, we sort of huddled together sometimes and commiserated. And that brings me to my final point about going back to nursing school in middle age. And I'll tell you kind of a funny story about this final idea. Maybe it was our third or fourth week of school and we were at our first clinical. Well, it wasn't our first day, but we were in our first clinical rotation. And there was this little room where they had all the paper charts, like all these binders with all the paper charts. And we had to look at our assigned patient's chart because we were going to be doing a care plan for them. And I was in this little room along with one of the other, I think there were about 3 of us, maybe 4 of us who were like 40 plus years old. One of the other older students was in this room with me looking at the charts. And so I just turned to her and I'm like, so, you know, how's it going? Because again, this is right near the beginning of the program. And she looks at me, she's like, oh, I'm just so tired. And I'm like, me too. Like, we were just so much more tired than our younger classmates. Like, we couldn't explain it. It just happens in life. As you get older, you'll find out if you're not there yet, you are more tired all the time. You wake up tired, you go to bed tired. In the middle of the day, you're tired, you have coffee, you're still tired. It's just how it's gonna be now, as some comedian once said. And so we just laughed about that like all of our classmates staying up all night to study or just getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to study. We were not doing that. We weren't capable of doing that. We needed our full night's sleep. We had to study after school and before dinner, before our kids got home. It was just a totally different physical experience being actually older. And it's something that you might not think about until you go back and experience it for yourself. But just the mental strain of nursing school, there is so much information in such a short amount of time. It is mentally draining, let alone physically exhausting when you're nervous and have anxiety about all this new information, new skills you're learning. It was one of the most exhausting experiences of my life. So to summarize, going back to school in middle age, it was awesome in a lot of ways because to sound cliche, I was older and wiser. I knew I was choosing this. It was something that I wanted to do. Nobody was pressuring me. My family wasn't pressuring me. My parents weren't pressuring me like might happen when you're younger. I had financial decisions that I previously made that enabled me to do this program kind of carefree in terms of money. And I guess, just as you're older, you've seen some things, man. You've done some things. So things that might have made you nervous, whether it's blood or guts or whatever, when you were 20, I mean, come on, you're now in your 40s or older. You've had kids. You've had your own health issues. That stuff didn't bother me at all. So I guess there was some good being older and going back to nursing school. So to sum up, if you're middle-aged and going back to school, get your rest, have a good sleep schedule, eat nutritious foods, make sure to relax, de-stress, massages, whatever you need, you are going to rely on all of those things in nursing school at an older age. If you have any questions for me, please leave them in the comments down below. Or if you want to share your experiences as a young nurse, old nurse, whatever, please go ahead and share it so we can all commiserate and have a laugh. Until next time.